SpongeBob SquarePants never set out to be some deep philosophical show, but somehow in between the goofy gags and Krabby Patty capers, it gave us one of the most heartbreaking and real stories about loss, regret, and eventually moving on. SpongeBob and Gary didn't just have a fight. SpongeBob basically ghosted his best friend. He got sucked into this mindless quest, this stupid high score, and Gary was gone. And it's only when Gary's gone that SpongeBob realizes, oh crap, what have I done? Because let's be real, sometimes the person you push away is the only one who can actually make you feel whole again. This is Have You Seen This Snail? And honestly, it should be required viewing for anyone who's ever, well, messed up. Let's just set the stage here because the way this whole tragic mess kicks off is so painfully, brutally real. The episode doesn't start with SpongeBob being a total jerk. It's the exact opposite. We literally see him struggling down the street, hauling this ginormous, hilariously heavy bag of snail food for Gary. His entire focus is on taking care of his best friend. This is the normal, loving relationship we all know and love from them. SpongeBob loves Gary, and Gary loves SpongeBob. It's simple, it's pure, but that's what makes the flip-flop so devastating. He gets home and there it is. The reason for all the upcoming tears. A package. Inside is the official Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy paddleball set. It's shiny, it's new, it's exciting. And with it comes a challenge, the Dirty Bubble Challenge. He has to hit the ball 29,998, 559th, 671,349 times in a row. Like, what even is that number? It's absurd, impossible, and that's the whole point. This paddleball isn't just a toy, guys. It's a metaphor, a big ol' flashing sign. It's that new video game you can't put down for a second. It's that project at work that devours your nights and weekends. It's doom scrolling on your phone for hours instead of actually, talking to the person sitting right next to you. It's any trivial, ultimately meaningless pursuit that we let become so all-consuming that we build a wall around ourselves and totally ignore the stuff that actually matters. And I'm guilty of this, you're guilty of this, we're all guilty of this. It's so relatable it hurts. And that's exactly what SpongeBob does. He becomes obsessed. He's immediately sucked in. Meanwhile, Gary, sweet, innocent Gary, just goes about his routine. He slithers into the kitchen, sees his empty food bowl, and checks the clock. It's snack time. So he does what any pet would do. He lets his owner know he's hungry. A simple meow. But to the completely engrossed SpongeBob, this isn't a request for food. Oh no, it's a distraction. He's so deep into his paddleball trance that he can't see past the end of his own nose. It's infuriating to watch, honestly. Gary tries again, a little louder this time. He even gets in SpongeBob's way, trying desperately to get his attention. And this is where it gets really, really hard to watch. SpongeBob doesn't just ignore him. He gets angry. He lectures Gary, explaining the importance of this undertaking. He's actually trying to justify his neglect, to make Gary feel like the one who is in the wrong for having a basic need. Think about how messed up that is. He frames his selfish obsession as some noble quest, and Gary's hunger as an annoying interruption. Gary climbs on his face, a last-ditch, desperate plea for attention, and SpongeBob just loses it. He throws Gary off of him and yells,
I hate it when you do that! Now get! And leave your master to his important affairs.
That's it. That's the moment the emotional abuse becomes so clear. It's outright rejection. And for Gary, he doesn't throw a fit. He doesn't hiss or bite or start drama. He just quietly accepts the situation. He packs his little suitcase, which heartbreakingly contains his treasured photo of SpongeBob, and he leaves. He makes a choice. This is the first lesson in moving on that the episode gives us, and it's from Gary's perspective, the absolute legend. Moving on is an act of self-preservation. When you are in a situation where you are being ignored, devalued, and outright rejected, staying is not a sign of loyalty. It's a sign of self-abandonment. Gary teaches us that you have to choose yourself when the person who is supposed to care for you won't. He knows he deserves better than being treated like a nuisance for simply being hungry. So, with a heavy heart, he moves on to find someone who will remember to feed him. But it gets so much crazier from here. So, Gary is gone. He's out in the world, trying to find a new life. But SpongeBob is still on the floor, smacking a ball against a paddle, completely oblivious. And this is where the show really twists the knife to show the true horror of his neglect. Time passes, a lot of time. Patrick shows up, concerned because he hasn't seen his friend in a couple of days. He walks in and finds SpongeBob on the floor, eyes bloodshot, muttering "darn it" to himself, looking like he's been on a week-long bender. And that's because he basically has. Patrick's like, how long you been at this, bro? And SpongeBob, all nonchalant, goes, about a week. Then he looks at the solidified, disgusting seahorse milk in the kitchen. I'm gagging just thinking about it. And goes, nah, maybe 10 days. 10 days. Let that just marinate for a sec. 10 days vanished from his life. He didn't eat, didn't sleep, and the most important thing, he didn't feed his best bud, Gary. The show nails this visualization. It's a total time warp of obsession, man. It's that weird zone we all get into sometimes, where the world outside our tiny, focused little bubble just poofs and ceases to exist. I've been there with video games, not gonna lie. It's scary. It's only when Patrick starts mentioning losing his own trophy, because of course Patrick, that a tiny little spark of memory flickers in SpongeBob's head.
What happened?
I won, but then I lost the trophy they sent me.
You lost the
He literally trips over Gary's empty food bowl.
food bowl. That's it. I gotta feed Gary.
He goes outside, grabs that snail food bag, the same one he was all proud about at the beginning, remember? And just dumps it in the bowl. He calls for Gary, rings the little dinner bell, and then silence. Crickets, nothing. And then the panic. Oh, you can see it in his twitching eye. He goes full-on frantic, tearing the house apart. He's looking everywhere, under everything, still convinced Gary's just playing hide and seek. He just cannot even process that Gary might actually be gone. And then Patrick suggests the mailbox. SpongeBob scoffs, Gary couldn't fit in there. But they look anyway, and what falls out? A single rolled up piece of paper. A letter? This is it, the point of no return, the note that makes it all real.
Dear SpongeBob, these last few years have been some of the best of my life, but I must move on. Don't bother to come looking for me. By now I have probably found a new owner who actually remembers to fill up my food bowl every now and again. Sincerely, Gary. At least until my new owner renames me.
The look on SpongeBob's face? Absolute devastation, man. His whole world just shatters. It's not just that Gary's gone, it's why he's gone. And Patrick, for once, delivers a moment of brutal, necessary honesty.
What do you mean? You drove him away. It's right there in black and white. See? Right there. And there.
Mic drop, Patrick. This, my friends, is the crushing weight of realization. It's a specific kind of grief that's way worse than just plain old loss. It's the grief that's just soaked in guilt. It's knowing with 100% certainty that you are the architect of your own misery. You did this. There's no one else to point fingers at. You had something precious, something pure, and you neglected it until it just left. The show easily could have made this a simple oopsie moment, but nah, it leans into the full-blown psychological horror of it. The 10 days of lost time, the solid milk, the frantic searching, and that final, gut-wrenching handwritten note, it all combines to create one of the most powerful and adult depictions of regret I've ever seen in a kid's cartoon. SpongeBob is horrified with himself, and now he has to live with that. Rough stuff, man. Rough stuff. So, SpongeBob is spiraling in guilt, but what about Gary? You'd think he'd be having the time of his life, right? Like, freedom, no more neglecting owner? Well, nah, not exactly. This is where the saying, the grass isn't always greener, slaps you right in the face, because what he finds is somehow even more terrifying than being forgotten. Gary's journey is its own harrowing tale about how wild and dangerous moving on can be. He slithers into a new town, a lonely figure in a totally hostile world. He gets laughed at by strangers, rude. He's even hissed at by a gang of tough-looking alley snails when he just tries to snag some discarded nachos. The initial phase of moving on isn't liberating, it's terrifying and isolating. This is the reality check, right? Leaving a bad situation doesn't magically transport you to a perfect one. There's this awkward, uncertain in-between phase, a wilderness you gotta navigate all by your lonesome. But then, a glimmer of hope, or so it seems. This sweet old lady swoops in, cooing, "Miss Tuftsy," and alarm bells should be ringing, right? Like, uh-oh, she clearly thinks I'm someone else. But Gary? He's been starving, he's been ignored, so he's just like, food, affection, sign me up. And honestly, who can blame him? When you're in a rough spot, sometimes you're just so desperate for anything that feels good. She brings him to her super cozy house and she's feeding him heart-shaped cookies and wrapping him in electric blankets. It's literally the exact opposite of what SpongeBob was doing. He was neglecting Gary and this lady is smothering him with love. But here's the thing, she's not doing it for Gary. Nope, she's doing it for her. She's got a hole in her heart and she's trying to fill it with poor Gary. This is the most genius metaphor for a rebound relationship you will ever see. You bounce out of a bad situation, you're so starved for the opposite that you just just jump into something that seems perfect, but is actually just as messed up, just in a different flavor. The new person isn't into you. They're into the idea of you. You're a placeholder. Gary wanted attention. And now he's getting so much he's probably having trouble breathing. Like, please, just 5 minutes without a cookie, Grandma. The illusion starts to crack when Gary tries to get some rest. He's full, he's warm, but he's still sad. He sees the picture of SpongeBob, the dude who neglected him, and that's when you know. Even though it was flawed, that relationship was real. This new one just feels off. And then the big reveal. Oh my gosh. This is where it goes from like a cute cartoon to a straight up horror movie. Gary opens a closet door and there's a mountain of empty broken snail shells. Like what? Dozens of them. This is a snail fattening farm. Grandma isn't a sweet old lady. She's a literal predator. She's been overfeeding these poor snails to like eat them later. Shivers. And then the painting of the snails on the wall? Their mouths open and they scream, "Run!" Iconic. Terrifying. I was like legitimately scared for Gary. Gary bolts out of there. Grandma chasing him with more cookies, calling him Miss Tuftsy like a psycho.
They were labor of love,
She yells. That line. It's so twisted. It's exactly what manipulators do, right? They wrap their control in love. Gary's journey here teaches us a huge, painful lesson. Just because you escape one problem doesn't mean you're safe. You gotta be super careful not to run from neglect straight into, like, obsessed, suffocating danger. Too much of a good thing can be just as bad as not enough. Trust your gut, even if it means running from delicious cookies. While Gary's literally running for his life, SpongeBob is having his own meltdown. He's basically a zombie at the Krusty Krab, crying so much he's ruining the Krabby Patties. Mr. Krabs, being the money-grubbing guy he is, tries to snap him out of it, probably thinking about profits. But SpongeBob takes it differently. He's not going to work harder at flipping patties. He's going to work harder at finding Gary. He stops wallowing, stops being sad, and starts doing something. He and Patrick turn into like a detective agency with office supplies. They're putting up posters everywhere. "Gary, I am sorry, please come home. Love, SpongeBob." This is huge. He's publicly admitting his screw-up. He's owning his mistake for the whole city to see. That takes guts, man. Like, seriously. And then the music starts. This is the super emotional part of the whole episode. The song "Gary Come Home" plays over this montage of SpongeBob's totally desperate, heartbreaking efforts. And let me tell you, this song, no jokes, it's a masterpiece. The words are so simple, so direct, and they just like crush your soul.
Gary, now I know I was wrong. I messed up, and now you're gone.
It's a straight up confession. No excuses, no buts, just "I messed up." He keeps going. "More than a pet, you're my best friend," which is so powerful. It makes their relationship way more than just owning a snail. It's about deep, real friendship. The montage shows him doing literally everything he can think of. He's handing out flyers like crazy, he's putting ads on TV, he's even hiring a plane to write stuff in the sky. And when you see his sad, teary face reflected in all those TV screens in the store window, dude, it's just devastating. And the song's big moment with the line,
And now my heart is beating like the saddest metronome.
is just like incredible writing. It totally nails that hollow, sad, rhythmic ache you feel when you're grieving. It's SpongeBob dealing with his guilt, his sadness, and his love, just screaming it to the world, hoping it reaches the one person who needs to hear it. And this is a super important step when you mess up. You gotta feel how bad it is, you gotta own it, and you gotta try to fix it, even if you don't know if it'll work. He's ditching his old, not-so-great self by actually trying to be a better, more thoughtful friend. Even Patrick's part here is so important. I mean, he's not the smartest dude around, and he even screws up by getting distracted by, like, scented pine cones and missing a chance to see Gary. But he's there. He's like a constant, supportive friend. He's there when SpongeBob is crying his eyes out on the couch, offering whatever little comfort he can. You totally need your friends, even the silly ones, to help you carry the weight. So, Gary finally escapes the crazy cannibal grandma, and SpongeBob has basically poured his entire heart out to the universe. It all comes down to this one last moment. But moving on doesn't always mean everything goes back to normal. What does it even mean to, like, move forward? The big moment in this story is where all the moving on stuff just comes together in such a deep and beautiful way. Gary, after escaping Grandma's crazy clutches, is all alone again in a dark alley. But then he sees a flyer on the ground, one of the zillions SpongeBob and Patrick have been handing out. He sees his own face and those words, "Please come home." He sees SpongeBob's total regret right there in front of him, and it just clicks. He gets it. He understands that SpongeBob ignoring him wasn't because he didn't care, but because he had a moment of really, really stupid weakness, a mistake. And seeing that SpongeBob isn't just sorry, but is actually trying to make things right, Gary decides to go back. This is so crucial. He's not just found or rescued. He makes the conscious decision to return, to give their relationship another shot. He's moving on from the hurt and choosing to forgive. Meanwhile, SpongeBob has hit rock bottom. He's back home on the couch with Patrick, totally wiped out. He's just like out of grief. He walks outside and just stares up at this giant billboard of Gary. He starts talking to it.
I blew it. I really blew it. I took you for granted, Gary. I'm sorry.
He's reached the last stage of grief, man. Acceptance. He's accepted that Gary is gone for good. And in this moment of just giving up hope, his wish changes. He's not begging for Gary to come back anymore. He just wants one last chance to say goodbye properly.
If only I could see you one more time, so I could tell you how much I love you.
He's let go of the idea of getting Gary back and is just asking for closure. And it's right at that moment of pure, selfless acceptance that he hears a faint meow. He thinks he's dreaming or something, but then he hears it again, right on his head. It's Gary! The reunion is one of the most earned emotional moments in the entire series. It's not a cheap, easy fix. It happens only after both characters have gone through their own crazy journeys and have totally grown from them. SpongeBob had to learn how awful neglect can be and really make up for what he did. Gary had to learn that the grass isn't always greener, and that a flawed but real love is way better than some perfect-looking but dangerous obsession. They are reunited not as the same two people who were separated, but as two individuals who have learned a super hard lesson. This episode masterfully teaches us that moving on means a bunch of different things. For Gary, it was about getting out of a bad situation, like protecting himself. He had to leave to be safe, first from being ignored, and then from being eaten. For SpongeBob, it was about ditching the person he used to be. He can't erase the mistake. He can't forget the pain he caused. Moving on for him means really taking that lesson to heart so that he never, ever takes his best friend for granted again. SpongeBob's final promise.
I promise, Gary, things are gonna be different between you and I. You'll see, pal.
Is the whole entire point. He has changed. The episode ends with a funny bit. SpongeBob offers Gary food, and Gary, still totally stuffed from Grandma's house, lets out this deep groaning meow. This whole experience has fundamentally made their relationship way better. True moving on isn't about forgetting the past. It's about learning from it, respecting the pain it caused, and using it to build a better future. It's about remembering what you almost lost so you never risk losing it again. If you enjoyed this video and want to see me break down the SpongeBob episode about cancel culture, click the video on the screen.